Shalom, Apostle Hart coming back at you with this truth, giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Kakwadash. And I'm going to entitle this video, Matthew 13:38, the answer to Revelation 20. And the reason why I'm doing this, basically I'm going to go into these two scriptures, cover these two scriptures, Matthew 13 and Revelation 20. And whatever other scriptures come to mind. This is a GMS in transit, so I'm outside here. Let me open this up. Yeah, there was a video. There was a video that was put up by Ainab, the former head of. It's taking a long time to up. The former head of GMS Detroit, and he had did a video maybe a couple of weeks ago on his page, The Good Samaritan, and I spoke about it in another previous videos. If you check the last 3-4 videos I did, I mentioned him. I think one of the titles of the video is the Lord is not the author of confusion, and I said something else. I also mentioned that this guy Adam Abbott, he had did a breakdown on Second Ezra's. Was the Second Ezra's chapter 11 and chapter 20, and he basically just totally mangled that breakdown. You got a lot of these guys that are just coming up, with their own thing, doing their own thing, breaking it down. If they don't understand it, if they don't know the breakdown of something, in order for them to sound deep, and it tells you about the simple believers every word. It says in Romans, Romans 16, verse 17 and 18, by fair speeches they deceive the heart of the simple. So you got guys that sound like great orators, but really don't know the scriptures. And I said this in another previous video I did within this last weekend or whatever, about guys that go, they find out that the Israelites, and then they if you go to their page, there's no information on it, which they're still learning most likely. Or you have scoffers that'll scoff, but then when you go to their page, there's no information on it. So if you say, well, yeah, this guy sounds like he makes sense, I'm gonna follow him. Well, you go to follow him and there's nothing there. So how can this man be a man of the Lord if all he does is scoff? Anyway, going back to individuals that have pages, they wake up to the fact that the Israelites, and if you go to their page, they'll have playlists or playlists and favorites, and it'll be a video from ISUPK, then it'll be a video from One Body and Yahweh Shai, which he's a new guy that everybody's getting on. I can't even watch all his videos. I watch a couple of minutes, I want to turn the shit off. I said, this guy is a complete bug out. But it's being manifest. He said that the Lord never performed any miracles. The Lord is not coming back in the clouds. I mean, where is he getting all this stuff from? But then you got people that are going to faithfully follow this guy, whatever madness that he brings out. We here at Great Millstone, we're known for going into the scriptures. Anything we say, if it's question, we back it up by the scriptures. And we're also known for going out on the highways and the byways and doing these sit-downs. And people are actually learning. But now, if you're watching our videos and you're watching ISUPK videos, not fully knocking ISUPK because they pretty much teach the same thing that we teach, but there's a couple of things they teach differently. A prime example is the Mark of the Beast, which you have some camps, a few camps outside of us that teach at the Mark of the Beast, but the majority of the camps seems like they say the Mark of the Beast is anything other than the microchip when it's right under your nose. It's right in your face. You know, like, I can understand if you 10 years ago or 5 years ago you couldn't see it, but if you can't see it now, that's a major problem. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Oh yeah, like I was saying, there are these guys that go to different camps and get different favorites from different videos. You know, they're completely confused. They're completely confused. And then some of them have gone to Adam Abbott's page, and some of them have gone to Arnott, which is the former head of GMS page, which is a Good Samaritan page. And he goes into Revelation, the 20th chapter, and he basically saying that the ones, the serpent, I don't remember everything that he said. So if I'm putting words in his mouth, he can come back and say, well, I never said that. But pretty much he broke down Revelation, the 20th chapter, completely different from the way we broke it down. So now let me just go into Revelation 20. And Revelation, the 20th chapter, is a very short, it's only 15 verses. So I'm going to go through it real quick. Or try to go through it real quick unless some precepts come to me. Anyway, it says Revelation 20 verse 1, and I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. Now we know that this is now the way Ariel taught it was talking about Yahweh Shai, so we can go with that. It says and he said, now let's say you said, well, no, it's got to be Michael, no, it's got to be Gabriel. What we know is that it was a righteous spirit. All right, Yahweh Shai is a righteous spirit. Michael is a righteous spirit. It wasn't no wicked spirit. Because how do we know that? Go to the second verse. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So this guy, not from GMS, the former head of GMS, he said that that's not talking about the so-called white man. Well, wait a minute. Now, if you go into the word dragon, let me look up the word dragon. Let me look up the word dragon. Okay, it's from the Greek word drakon, which excuse me, bear me for a minute. I'm trying to find the okay, root word, probably from an alternate form of drakomai, which means to look. Yeah, because a dragon has keen eyesight. Now it doesn't give me the scriptures. Let me do it this way. Let me do it this way. Dragon. Okay, the word. Bear me for a minute. Oh, let me go to this one. Dragon is mentioned in Isaiah 27 verse 1. Now this guy, the head of One Body in Yahweh said that's talking about the white man, which he's right on that. Let me read that. It says, in that day Yahweh with his sword and great strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent. That's talking about the white man. Serpent. We read about serpent in Revelation 20. That old dragon, the serpent, which is the devil and Satan. That's all talking about the elite of Esau. It says piercing serpent. Isaiah 27:1 is talking about Esau in his power seat. So he's called Leviathan. The Most High said he's going to destroy him with his great and strong sword, which represents the destruction. Shall punish Leviathan, which is Esau, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, the crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea, which is all talking about the same thing. Serpent, piercing serpent, Leviathan, crooked serpent, and dragon. So we know that this is talking about Esau. Now in Job, 41, it speaks about Leviathan. That's talking about an actual sea monster that the Most High created. Or they say it's a Loch Ness monster. Okay, this is in Isaiah. Let me see. Okay, let me see what this means. Ezekiel 29 verse 3. Speak and say, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great dragon that lieth in the midst of his rivers. So is the Lord talking about there's a dragon in Egypt? No, he's calling the Pharaoh, this particular Pharaoh, a dragon. It said, let me read again. Speak and say, thus saith Yahweh, the Most High, behold, I am against thee, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great dragon that lieth in the midst of his rivers, which have said, my rivers is mine own, and I have made it for myself. So the Most High is going coming to Ezekiel, referring to that particular king of Pharaoh, or the Pharaoh, as a dragon. So when you come across the word dragon, it's talking about a certain man or a certain nation. In the case of Revelation, the 20th chapter, it's talking about a man. It's talking about the elite of Esau, the Edomites. Okay, so now if we go to Revelation 12 verse 3, and there appeared another one in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. What is that talking about? It's talking about the first dragon, or the beast, also known as the beast, which is the Roman Empire. 4th verse, Revelation 12 verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. 3 parts of the stars of heaven represents Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Then you have some of the so-called Latin tribes that had stayed with Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, but the predominant tribes were Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. It says, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon, there goes the dragon, not talking about some spiritual demon, stood before the woman. The woman represent Israel. The first verse will tell you that, Revelation 12 verse 1, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And that child represent our Lord Yahweh Shai. And the woman represent, the child being born was born of Mary. But the woman in Revelation 12 verse 1 is talking about the whole nation of Israel. Was that Jeremiah 6:1 or 6:5? Israel is compared to a comely beautiful woman. Okay, here it goes again. Revelation 12, verse 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against and his angels. Now you got these Christians talking about there was a war. Satan took certain angels and said that Satan was a righteous angel, and he became jealous of the Most High, and he gathered together a crew of angels. That's not scripture. These Christians don't understand the scriptures. Anyway, in Revelation 12, verse 9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, there it goes again, and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. How did Esau deceive us? By his Christianity. Revelation 12, verse 13. And when the dragon saw that he was cast upon the earth, he persecuted the woman which are the Israelites, which brought forth the man child. And when you read Revelation, it's jumping around. It's not in any necessary order as order of events. And we're going to see that when we go back to Revelation 20. Revelation 13, verse 2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were like as feet of a bear, and his mouth as a mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Talking about Esau's power structure. Here we go in Revelation 16, verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, which represents the first beast, the Roman Empire, out of the mouth of the beast, which represent NATO and the EU, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. So you can put the Pope up in there, the Roman Catholic system, and all the churches that came out of the Roman Catholic system, like Lutheran, the Protestants, and so forth. Okay, so now we're back at Revelation 20, verse 2. So here we go. Bear with me for a minute. Let me do this. Your smartphone blue letter is set up different than so now that we went through all those scriptures, let's go back to Revelation 20, verse 2. And he laid hold on the dragon. Now we know who the dragon is. It's not the spiritual Satan. It's not the children of Israel. It's talking about the Esau and his power structure. I said that he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. That 1,000-year period, when you go back, and it fits to almost exactly 1,000 years. They had this was during the time period of Constantine the Great, when he sat on the throne, and he was the authority over 2 realms, the spiritual realm, which is the so-called church, and the political realm, which is the empire, which they had armies and lords and so forth. It says the second verse, Revelation 20, verse 2. And he laid hold on that dragon. So who is the dragon now? All the scriptures that I gave you, who is it talking about? It's not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. It says that old serpent, because that serpent goes back to that's why it said that old serpent, because that serpent goes back 1,000 years, 2,000 years back to Adam and Eve. So that's that old serpent, which is the devil. And the word devil, when you look that word up, it goes back to the word diabolos, which means false accuser. And that's what these devils are doing. You see what Vocab and Dr. Brown and all these other Christians, they're saying that we're evil, we're wicked. So what are they doing? They're saying, oh, you guys are not the Jews. The real Jews are the people over there in the land of Israel. Really? Did you do any research? Did you realize that those people were so-called white? And that being white is leprosy? There's two forms of leprosy, unclean and clean. Like the Edomites that you see today are considered, for the most part, clean lepers. That's why you can go to a restaurant and Edomite can cook you a burger. Or you can have, you go to the doctor and you have an Edomite doctor and he touches you and he, examines you, and you don't get a disease from it because you would be considered a clean leper. And that's how the Most High set it up. And that was that mark that goes back to Cain. And Cain was given that mark. There wasn't no X on his forehead. Anyway, it says, second verse again, in the middle, which is that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So go back from the time period of Constantine the Great, when he sat on the throne, 325 AD, or as they say now, CE, common era. Anyway, or current era. Actually, common era, which they used to say, AD. They took that out. Anyway, it says, and he laid hold on that dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Constantine sat on the throne, 325. Look it up. And when Jake was being taken down, that was really around 1325, 1345, 1350. So it took a good over 50 years, going into 100 years, when they were taken down. And that was the same period of time that the Moors were taken down. The last stronghold of the Moors was Granada. You can go put Granada, the last stronghold of the Moors. I'll give you that history. Anyway, third verse, Revelation 20 verse 3, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. So when the Esau started coming out, from the time of Constantine the Great up until around the mid-1300s, that's when he started getting into power, and the height of his power was in the late 1400s. And when the way they deceived the whole planet was when Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, went to the other side of the world, and referred to that as the New World. And what did he bring with him? He brought diseases, plagues, and his religion, which is the current Christianity that you believe in today. See how this thing is all making sense? It said the nations, it says that he should deceive the nations no more till 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loose a little season. That little season about 500 years. Fourth verse, and I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them, and I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua. So the Apostle Paul was beheaded. Some of the other disciples and apostles were beheaded. Peter was hung up, according to the history. He wanted to be hung up upside down. So they were all put to death except for John the Apostle. And there was a reason for that, because the Most High wanted to give him the last book, the book of Revelation, to give to the 7 churches of Asia Minor, which were Israelites scattered throughout Asia Minor. For the word of the Most High, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark. And that's talking about now. So the apostles, the prophets, the disciples, they're here. For the most part, they're here. And we're doing what we did 2,000 years ago, out there teaching. It says, that's why you got so many Christians, coming against us, because they have their form of Christianity, which is a false Christianity, have received his mark upon their foreheads, and that's literal. That's the microchip, or in their hands, and every one of you are going to be tested pursuant to Revelation 3 verse 10 on down to 12. And they lived and reigned with Yahushua. So ultimately we're going to live and reign with Yahushua 1,000 years, and then we're going to go beyond that 1,000-year period. It says, but the rest of the dead live not again until 1,000 years will finish. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection. On such the second death have no power. Now two-thirds of Israelites are going to die, but they're going to come back to us in that 1,000-year period. But they shall be priests of the Most High and of Yahushua, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. 7th verse, and when the 1,000 years are expired. Now this is like a jump around. So now you read this and you don't understand it. You're saying, oh, so that we're going to be in the kingdom for 1,000 years, and then the beast is going to come up and they're going to enslave us again. No, that's not talking about that. It's talking about when the 1,000 years were expired, Satan, that's talking about Satan's 1,000 years shall be expired. Satan shall be, which is Esau, the elite of Esau, and Edomites shall be loose out of his prison. And that prison is talking about Europe. It says, and shall go out to deceive the nations. Deceive the nation with what? With their form of Christianity, and with politics and voting, and ultimately taking the mark of the beast, which is the chip, which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog. That's talking about Russia. To gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. 9th verse, and they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints. The camp of the saints are Israelites, and the camp of the saints is also the land of Israel. So they're going to have that war in the Middle East. They're going to all gather. That's in Joel 2. And the beloved city is Israel before it's a place, but the land of Israel is also a place. And fire came down from the Most High out of heaven and devoured them. Now that fire is his missiles, which is that's one of his hosts. One of the Lord's hosts. I tell you that in Joel 2 it describes them as soldiers in battle formation. So the missiles are one of his hosts. And the devil, 10th verse, and the devil that deceived them was cast into a lake of fire. Now it's not going to be a lake of fire where they're literally cast in. It's parabolic talk for the fuck out of here. Get out of here. Goddamn bee. Get the fuck out of here, man. Get out of here, boy. Get the hell out of here, man. Get out of here, son. Fuck out of here. Fucking bee. Goddamn bee. Shit is for that was Satan, man. Satan sent that bee. Anyway, tormented day and night forever and ever. That's tormented. Mean you're gonna get your ass whipped. You're gonna be shackled up and chained. There's several scriptures that back that up. And I saw 11th verse, and I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from who faced the earth, and the heaven fled away. Now that's not literal, because where are we going to be if the earth fled away? It said the earth abided forever in Ecclesiastes 1. It says, and there was, in other words, he's the Most High is going to, when that judgment come, as they call the great white throne judgment, that's when everything gonna be stopped. Ain't nobody gonna be watching no TV on that day. Ain't nobody gonna be watching. Ain't nobody gonna be sitting on the toilet on that day. You know. And the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. That's parabolic. 12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before the Most High, and the books were open, and another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged at it. And who's written in the book of life right now? The elect. And then ultimately, the rest of Israel will be saved. But the elect, out of those things which were written in the book according to their works. 13th verse, and the sea gave up the dead which was in it, and death and hell delivered up. Now death and hell, so that means to tell me, are you telling me that people are going to be burned in hell, and then they're going to have their judgment, so they're going to pull them out of hell so they can be partake of the judgment? Aren't they already judged? The hell meaning the grave. That's why it said death and hell. It should, the word there should be the grave. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to it. I know what it says, but I'm gonna go to it. That's death and hell. Right, the word there is Hades, which is Greek for the grave. Let's see if that'll come up. Yeah, I don't like this format right here. Anyway, it means the grave. So let's go back. Thirteenth verse. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in it in them, and they would judge every man according to their works. 14. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire, meaning going to suffer the death of the destruction. So now let's go to Matthew. Bear with me for a minute. Yeah, what the hell? Matthew 13, then we're going to go right to the 38. We might jump up a verse or two above that, and we're going to breeze through this one. Matthew 38. Matthew 13. Matthew 13:36. Then Yahushua sent the multitude away and went into the house, and his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. 37. He answered and said unto him, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. So that's why the Son of Man came to save that which was lost, right? And he commanded his disciples to do that in Matthew 10, 5, and 6, and 7 on down. You can read that whole chapter. Which are the Israelites. He said, he answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man, which represent gathering of the elect. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom. Who are the children of the kingdom? It says in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, around about the 40th verse on down, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, meaning this kingdom shall be for Israel. It says in Daniel 7, the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom. Who are the saints? The Israelites. But the tares are the children of the wicked one, or the children of the devil, which are you Edomites. And you have Edomites that look like Jake. 39, the enemy that soweth them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. So we're reading this goes hand in hand with Revelation, the 20th chapter, and many other scriptures. As therefore the tares are gathered and burnt in the fire, so shall it be in the end of the world, or the end of this world, or the end of this age. So that's talking about now. It says 41, the Son of Man shall send forth his angels. Revelation 12 come to mind. Matthew 24 come to mind. And they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity. Talking about Esau, he gonna set. That's also Matthew 25, with goats on one side, the sheep on the other. (42) And shall cast them into a furnace of fire. Now in Revelation it says into a lake of fire. Right here it's saying a furnace of fire. So we know this is parabolic. The lake of fire and the furnace of fire is talking about these missiles. It says in Malachi, what is that? Malachi 4, the day shall come that shall burn as an oven. All talking about the same thing. But the wording is different. And that's why people can't get it. And the Most High codified this whole book and gave us the keys. Remember, he gave the keys to David and he gave the keys to Peter. So what is a key? It's to open up doors. So what are we doing? We're opening up spiritual doors. And people that are kicked out or leave this thing and they call themselves trying to open up doors, and they open up the wrong doors, because what happened? The Most High changed the lock. So when they go to open up the door, it can't open. It said, so these are spiritual keys, and shall cast them like Ariah. Ariah got his keys don't work no more unless the Most High give him a new set of keys. And you have in your pocket, you don't have one key. You might have 10 different keys, right? 5 different keys to open the door in your apartment, to open up, to turn your car on. You know, the different keys that you need. Then you got keys in numbers. When you go to your web page, you put in a key, which is your password. So that's a key. Okay, so it says Matthew 13 verse 42, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire, there shall be welling and gnashing of teeth. And that's talking about when those missiles are hitting. It says 43rd verse, then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father, which are the Israelites, starting with the elect. Who have ears to hear, let him understand. So now if you're an Edomite, like I told Vocab, I said, look, if you're an Israelite, you might be an Israelite, you might not be an Israelite. If you're an Israelite, ultimately you're going to you're going to be a part of the kingdom of heaven. But if you're an Edomite, you're going to go into slavery, and then you're going to be destroyed. So that's what I told him, and that's what I tell everybody else. Because Edomites come asking questions, so you got to break it down to them. When Dr. Brown came up, the big nose devil came up, so-called Jew, he ran into one of the ISUPK camps, and he wanted to have the mic. I said, man, you got money, buy your own goddamn mic. Why are you so concerned about us receiving the love of sweet Jesus, which ain't nothing but an Edomite? It tells you that. It tells you in what is that? 2 Corinthians 11 verse 4 about another Jesus, another Lord. Well, you're trying to bring us another Lord. We're not dealing with that Lord. We're not dealing with the Caesar Borgia spirit. It says, okay, now it goes into something else. You know what? I'm going to read 44 and then I'm going to close. It said, the kingdom of heaven is like unto treasure hid in the field. So this is the hidden truth, that the which when a man have found, he hideth, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he hath, and buyeth that field. So when you come into this truth, you have to be dedicated and focused in this truth. This has to be pretty much, you know, when you do anything and you see anything, you do it through the filter of this truth. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom. I didn't know it was gonna be this long. I gotta check. But hey, it's on to the next one. Shalom.